So we got there right after the second tower came down. We knew right away it was a terrorist attack. I mean, I knew it. Most of the guys I was with, they were all prior military. They were also veterans. And we just went into basically, getting everyone out. Main thing was, evacuating everyone out of Lower Manhattan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. My name is Rush, and I am your host. As a former combat medic with the 2nd Armored Division out of Fort Hood, Texas, Gus knew the importance of selflessness and sacrifice at an early age. But it wasn't until September 11, 2001, that his true courage and bravery were put to the test. On that fateful day, Gus was one of many New York police sergeants who responded to the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center. For over 600 hours, Gus worked tirelessly to assist in the search, rescue, and recovery efforts at Ground Zero and the Fresh Kills Landfill in Staten Island, New York. Today, as a Northeast Texas regional coordinator for Texas Veterans Network, powered by Combined Arms, Gus continues to serve others by connecting veterans and their families to vital community resources. And it's my pleasure to discuss Gus's unwavering commitment to service and selflessness in the face of adversity. Gus, man, it's great to have you on the Unfinished Business Podcast.
Good morning, Rush. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. As I shared with you privately, I've been watching all the work you've been doing in the community, following you for probably a better part of a year, and seeing the places you've been going to and how you are actually representing the Texas Veterans Network and in such a very powerful way from what it seems. Mm-hmm. Just recently, you received I saw a group of you on stage with some checks. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes. So CISO XC, they had a cybersecurity conference here in Frisco, and so we were one of the charities that was chosen to receive that donation. So that's the stuff that we do, the outreach part.
Yeah.
Myself, my coworker, Megan Heil, who's the North Texas regional manager. So just to get the word out, let people know that we're out here. There's a lot of resources for veterans and their families.
Right.
And that includes also active duty reservists, National Guards that are in the that are in the area.
Yeah. How much did y'all end up raising?
We got a nice check for $7,000, which is, and this is our second check from CISO XC.
Okay.
Like I said, we met them last December. They had another convention in Irving, and they also presented us with another check for $7,000. So that was, we had a breakout session for veterans that are trying to get into the cybersecurity space. So we had several veterans who were already cybersecurity qualified. So they gave some insights in how to get into that, to that space.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so a combat medic, a New York City police sergeant, and a first responder at the scene of the 9/11 attacks. Talk to me a little bit about what you were doing on this day and what it was like dealing with the aftermath of the attacks, and how did you cope with the physical and emotional toll of working at Ground Zero and the Fresh Kills Landfill in Staten Island, New York?
So for me, I went to work. I used to work midnights. I used to work 11:35 by 07:50. So I went to work Monday night, September 10th. Went to work. I was working in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy area of New York at the time. That night, it was a typical night in Brooklyn. We had a couple of people shot, a couple of domestic incidents. That morning, as I was getting off, the morning of September 11th, I was getting ready to head home. I was supposed to be off that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11th, 12th, and 13th of 2001. So I'm pulling out of the station house in Brooklyn. One of the cops comes up to my car, taps the back of my car. He said, "Hey, Sarge, they're calling everyone back." He goes, "What's going on?" He goes, "Something about a plane hitting the World Trade Center." My first reaction was to look up at the sky. I mean, it was a beautiful, clear fall day. It was also election day in New York that day.
Oh, wow.
Immediately turned around, parked my car, go back in, throw my uniform on. Lieutenant on the desk was like, "Hey, Gus, just grab a couple of cops and shoot into the city," meaning into Manhattan. So we got there right after the second tower came down. We knew right away it was a terrorist attack. I mean, I knew it. Most of the guys I was with, they were all prior military. They were also veterans. And we just went into basically, getting everyone out. Main thing was, evacuating everyone out of lower Manhattan. So we were pushing everyone onto the two bridges, the Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge. Was there all day. Around 4:30, we heard another rumbling sound. That was when World Trade Center number 7 came down. That building was about 47 stories high. That was the last building that came down that day. That night at Ground Zero, it looked like a nuclear bomb went off. There was just fires pretty much all over the site. You had to watch where you had to step because the steel beams were still hot from the fires.
Wow.
There was fires pretty much all over the place. One thing we kept hearing that night was either F-16s flying overhead, and the other sound was what the firemen wear. They wear these oxygen tanks. So when they stop moving, Scott air packs, I believe they call them, once they stop moving, it sets off a sound, like a beeping sound.
Oh, wow.
And that's what we kept hearing all night throughout Ground Zero. I mean, we would go to that spot where that sound was coming from, but we would get there and it was just a sound.
Wow.
It was so deep underground. Following morning, first light came up. I mean, we took a little break. Now, you got to realize, I've been working since Monday night, September 10th.
Oh, wow.
With no sleep, nothing. On the morning of September 12th, basically, we started all these, it reminds me every time I walk into either Home Depot or Lowe's, you got those buckets of, plastic buckets of, the orange buckets or blue.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
And they just started dumping buckets in front of us, and then we would set up a line just to go up to the top of the pile, and that's, first couple of days was very hectic. Heavy equipment started arriving later that day of like September 12th. It became a routine.
Yeah.
Working, the days that you weren't working down at Ground Zero, once they started finding bodies of police officers and firemen that I knew, we started attending the funerals. So the days that you weren't working at Ground Zero, you were attending funerals. Then all that debris from Ground Zero, they started bringing it to this landfill out in Staten Island, New York, which ironically was called Fresh Kills. Okay, this landfill was closed, but it was reopened again right after September 11th just to bring all that debris there. So the first couple of days, basically, it was just, they would just dump, trucks would pull up, dump piles of dirt right in front of you. You would just take a metal rake and start separating all that debris. That's how most of the people were, you had two buckets. You would put personal property in one, you would put human remains in another. At the end of your shift, you would bring those buckets, turn them into the FBI had a trailer there. It was like their lab.
How do you cope with your part in it? Like physically.
It's people have asked me, hey, you suffer from PTSD and all that.
Yeah.
I don't remember like everything, but obviously it was, it's history.
Yes.
I'm never gonna forget it. And I'm reminded every time, when I hear of a fellow co-worker that I was there with passes away from September 11th, from being exposed to all that stuff we're all breathing in. I have a firm belief that the men upstairs, you're here for a certain amount of time. When your time is up, your time is up.
Yes.
And I live my life like today is my last day. That's how I look. Especially after September 11th.
Yeah.
All those people did. I mean, all civilians did was just go to work.
Yeah.
They got on the trains.
Right.
They, and you heard stories later on of someone missed a train, or or was running late to work, got sick that morning, didn't go to work. So, I mean, how do I cope with it? I don't think about it. I mean, I'm reminded every year of, around the anniversary,
Right.
like about a week before the actual date, I start getting very, tense, because I know it's approaching.
Yeah.
But, it's just take it day by day.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. Asking this question for me personally, because I know that sometimes we don't, we can live old wars and that kind of in our head and stuff, and it was a very sensitive subject. So I appreciate you sharing.
It's history, and we should never. We should never forget.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that with you. I think it's valuable to know firsthand experience. You're the first. First responder that I've ever met or ever talked to about being a part of the 9/11.
There was a whole bunch of us there, a lot of civilians. Like I said, and you had what a lot of people don't realize, there was also a lot of first responders here from Texas.
Yes.
That went there to help, and a lot of them are now sick from being exposed to all the
gases and fumes.
all
right?
the fumes, yeah.
This video series is sponsored by American Coffee and Tea. American Coffee and Tea is located at the corner of Stonebrook Parkway and the North Dallas Tollway, right next door to the Shell station in Frisco, Texas. Guys, if you pride yourself in supporting local businesses and you have a patriotic nature for America and it's the freedoms that it represents, then stop by American Coffee and Tea and experience their, I'd say, first-class customer service and their helpful nature. Yeah. What do you think is the most significant lessons you've learned from this experience?
Life is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like I told you before, we're here for a certain amount of time, and while we're here, we got to make the best of it. The man upstairs has your, has your number.
Right.
And that's how I look at things. I mean, that's, tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Right.
That's how
I imagine you use these experiences as being a combat medic and, a New York City police sergeant as fuel. How has this shaped your perspective on serving others and the community and in community engagement?
So one of the things that, like I said, the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, you had a lot of young men and women join the military. They joined because of what happened on September 11th, both in New York City, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the attacks on the Pentagon, and a lot of them joined. As a veteran, one thing that I, not only myself, but a whole group of veterans from the NYPD, New York City Police Department, the Fire Department in New York City, what we started doing was around 2002, we started going to Walter Reed and also Bethesda Naval Hospital.
Oh, wow.
Visiting all these young men and women that were originally coming back from Afghanistan. So they were coming from Afghanistan to Landstuhl, Germany, and then to either Walter Reed or Bethesda. And then obviously someone were being flown to San Antonio to Brook. But since we were in the East Coast, so a group of us got together and we would start going every couple of months. We would just go visit them. Right. Thank them. And these were like 17, 18. We got to meet. There was a few times where we went to visit them, and we got to meet their parents. And you got to look at their. They were. At first, they were like, hey, because we used to wear our uniforms. We would walk in there, present them with a placard with the first flag raising at Ground Zero. We would give them like an NYPD T-shirt, NYPD baseball cap, and we just wanted to tell them, thank you for stepping up for us, because on that day we felt very helpless. Yeah. We got attacked, so that's how I got involved with this. Giving back to the as a veteran.
Oh, wow.
But giving back to them.
Come on in, sir.
Actually, I meant to go next door.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's how it all began. I mean, so around 2003, Wounded Warrior Project was founded in New York.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know it.
And what they did was they went to Germany. They got into Landstuhl at the hospital there. So there were a lot of these young, a lot of the service members were already coming to Walter Reed and Bethesda. So that's how I got involved with this whole veteran space.
Wow.
Started volunteering with them up in New York. What we started doing was as soon as a lot of these guys and girls would get better, we would tell them, hey, we would speak to their physical therapy person there. We'd tell them, hey, once you get better, come up to New York. We would take you around. So the first thing they wanted to do was see Ground Zero.
Yeah.
And then we'd take them around the other sides. We'll give them a police escort. I mean, there was,
Wow, it's amazing.
so I met people from all over the country. I mean,
Wow,
North
yeah.
Dakota. And, they'd never been to New York, So it was, for us, it was something to give back to them,
Wow.
So that's how I got involved with the whole engagement. Listen, I didn't go to school for this.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. But you have life experiences that have helped shape you and fuel the fire that's in your heart, and that's what's very recognizable. Going back to what I said, is one of the things that stood out in me is people who have that fire see that fire in other people, and watching you engage in the community the way you have, it's very admirable, and I appreciate that. Today, you are the Northeast Texas Regional Coordinator for Texas Veterans Network, powered by Combined Arms. Tell me a bit about Combined Arms and the mission of Texas Veterans Network.
So Combined Arms was founded in Houston, 2015, by some fellow veterans. So basically, in Houston, we have an actual building where we have all these different veteran service organizations there. So we have a rep from Travis Manning Foundation, Hope for the Warriors, Texas Veterans Commission. So about 3 years ago, the state of Texas, along with the Texas Veterans Commission, Texas Workforce Commission, approached Combined Arms. Can you guys create the same model up in North Texas? So that's how the Texas Veterans Network started.
Okay.
So within the network, we have about 260 other organizations. Okay, so you have veteran service organizations, you have some local community resources, you also have, we work with some of the local VSOs, veteran service officers. So basically what we are is a one single point of entry for that veteran or that family member. So instead of them Googling, hey, how do I get connected for this?
Yeah.
They connect to us. There's 3 ways that they could connect to us. We have an actual phone with 2 call centers.
Oh, wow.
One here in Arlington, the other one's down in Houston, our headquarters. Everything's mapped out by zip code and by county. Everything's broken down. We also have it mapped out where it's if you're a pre-9/11 veteran or post 9/11. So that way, when we do the direct referral, and then we'll just do a direct referral to one of our partner organizations.
Yeah.
Now, the veteran service organizations that are part of the Texas Veterans Network, we put them through a process called a due diligence. So we look at their 990s. We look at their board members just to make sure they are on the up and up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we do our homework with that because we want the best in class, to be part of that network.
Wow, I never, I did this small research, but now when you're telling me how the operations are, that's really
We're
cool.
very data driven. We use Salesforce.
Okay.
That's the CRM that we use. And basically, instead of that veteran trying to Google, hey, how do I get connected with this? We'll do the direct referral. Now we have, so for example, here in North Texas, so anything north of Waco, up to the Oklahoma border, west to Wichita Falls, east towards Louisiana. It's the Arlington call center.
Oh, gotcha.
It's also manned by veterans. So they'll speak to that veteran, they'll ask him, he or she, okay, for example, one of the biggest requests we get is financial assistance.
Yeah.
Okay, they'll ask him, okay, what are you looking for employment? Are you having some type of mental health and wellness? So stuff like that. Right. Also, for the more techie veterans, they could go on our website, they could create a profile, and they could self-navigate and request those resources. So if they're in need of employment, they need a resume, They need a LinkedIn profile. We work with Hire Heroes. We work with Next Stop. That's another organization that provides veterans with employment. Connect them to employers. So, like I said, one single point of entry, and we take it from there. We do the direct referrals.
That's very cool, man. I mean, it's very very polished, well put together.
What's good about it is, started here in Texas. That technology started here in Texas. Other states started looking at, okay, what is it that you guys are doing down in Texas? So now we brought the same technology to Louisiana. So in Louisiana, it's called Louisiana Department of Veterans, powered by Combined Arms.
Gotcha.
We're also in South Carolina as well, and then parts of Miami. So
can y'all do anything for the Department of Veterans Affairs, upgrading their?
Actually, no. You know what? They're getting better. I mean, the VA gets better, but we work a lot with the VA.
Just kidding.
A lot of the reps we collaborate with.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's all about collaboration.
Yeah, for sure.
You have all these veteran service organizations out here that don't try to duplicate the wheel.
Yeah.
If you're good at one thing, stick with it.
Yeah.
Don't try to, because there's another one that's doing the same thing. But everything's all about collaborations. We're not here to take anybody's thunder away. If you're good at that, stick with it.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can collaborate. Because at the end of the day, it's helping out that veteran or that family member, and that's the end goal.
And the ability to say yes as often as you can, I would imagine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what is some, in your experience in being part of Texas Veterans Network, powered by Combined Arms, what are some of the biggest challenges facing veterans in terms of finding employment and transition back into civilian life that you've experienced?
So a lot of veterans, they, especially when I say veterans, and you also have people that transition out of the military. Yeah. They sell themselves short. They don't know how to, and now, switching that DD Form 214 from your MOS to a civilian, if you're looking for a civilian employment. But there's organizations out there now that help you with that. Okay. Also, if you're looking to stick with a government job, a lot of people know that resume, it's very long. It's about 15 pages. Where a civilian resume is could be 1 page or 2 pages.
Right.
So we help, transition veterans with that. But a lot of them, hey, I was infantry for example, in the Army.
Yeah.
Don't ever sell yourself short. That's what I tell them, a lot of them. Everybody has experience in one thing or another.
Yeah, how you can qualify your position, every type of position, especially like in infantry, you've had leadership roles somewhere along the way.
Along the way, yeah.
What are one or two of the most impactful ways that you've seen at how an organization educates the public about the unique experiences and contributions of veterans?
Well, obviously, COVID, so when Texas Veterans Network started, it was right around the beginning of COVID. Wow. So it was, I've been with them now, I'm coming up on 2 years. And now we do a lot of outreach. So I travel.
I see that.
I mean, I go to Martin Lubbock, I'm getting ready to go to Amarillo. My partners also, so we have other teams. So we're here in Texas, out in West Texas, out in El Paso, Fort Bliss. We also have another staff member in Central Texas. So up here in North Texas, myself and my coworker, Megan. We tackle and we figure out what events are going on, but mostly just getting out there into the community, that face-to-face. It's, to me, Zoom is very impersonal. Yeah. Like I said, last week we did the annual convention for the National Guard of Texas. So we were there. A couple of weeks before, we did a pre-deployment. It's called a yellow ribbon program, pre-deployment. So which a lot of people don't realize that you still have National Guard units. For example, here from Texas, they're getting ready to deploy to, somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize that we're still sending people overseas.
Yeah.
They think because we pulled out of Afghanistan, the war is over.
Yeah.
It's not. I was even taken back where one of these units was going back to, which it was,
Yeah. Wow, that's that. Those are very valid points. I didn't know that you guys started off when COVID hit. It's amazing. Even now that you're saying that, it's amazing to see the traction that you traction that you're bringing.
We've connected with
That's
over.
very cool.
Yeah, we started right at the beginning of. That's when COVID started. So we couldn't get out there. I came out about a year and a half ago, and then we've been hitting the ground ever since. So we, like locally here, we go to companies like Raytheon,
Yeah.
or any of the major companies here that has a large population of veteran employees.
Right.
You'll be shocked how many veterans that we speak to, they're not even registered with the VA. Because they figure, hey, I'm working, I recently met a Army captain who literally did 2 tours in Iraq, and he's never filed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He goes, oh, I don't need it. Somebody. Yeah, but you know what? Still register with the VA.
Yeah.
Because eventually down the road, something's gonna be.
Yeah.
Something's gonna come down.
Yeah.
So.
Especially as you start aging, right?
Aging, yeah.
So how has your advocacy impacted your own personal growth and development, would you say?
You know what? Especially here in North Texas, I've met great people. And every day I'm meeting someone new.
Yeah.
It's just, I try to, everyone that I meet, they'll, hey, how can we help? How can we help?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of support here for veterans, their families. It's just got to know where to go. I mean, I've made tons of friends here.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to work on my Texas accent,
Yeah.
but, you know how that goes.
That's funny.
I'm trying to get a reaction from Chuck.
That's so funny you say that, because I was going to say, I still hear that New York accent.
Oh, yes, it comes out.
Twang yet.
I love it when I'm traveling. I'm like somewhere, for example, I'm like Lubbock or like Tyler. It's like, hey, where's that accent from? So I turn around, I tell them, Collin County.
Yeah.
Right. West McKinney. So, but yeah, it comes out once in a while. It comes out, but it's probably never going to lose it, but
Yeah.
But yeah, just meeting, every day. That's why I enjoy my job.
Yeah.
It's not, every day is something different.
Right.
There's always that one challenge. You'll get a phone call from, a veteran or a family member.
Yeah.
Like recently I had a spouse of a Marine who passed away in McKinney, and basically she reached out to me. She didn't, I got connected to her from another contact. It was like, she didn't know about just the process. Thank God he was registered with the VA. They were already working on his claim. So the first question I asked her, I go, hey, have you reached out to the VSO to give him, the Veteran Service Officer, to give him an update that. And as soon as she literally called him in front of me, and that's when I had to leave. She calls me and she's like, hey, he got approved for everything. So that was like a sense,
Yeah.
That was an account,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So it's little stuff like that. I mean, but yeah, it's rewarding. It's a rewarding job,
For sure.
It's not a job. For me, I don't look at it as a job. I mean, to me, it just gets me out of the house.
Yeah.
Get to meet great people from all different backgrounds.
Yeah, that's the other thing I see, is that you look like you enjoy your job. I mean, you look like you enjoy what you're doing,
I'm not doing it for the money.
Being part of
Trust me, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it for the money. I mean, it's nonprofit, but, when you meet a veteran, it's like, hey, I'm running into these roadblocks.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. I'll connect. My favorite saying is, I got a guy for you. It's a New York thing. Yeah,
Right.
I got a guy for you.
Yeah. That's
so,
nice. I like that.
Connected.
I like that. Gus Cabarcas, tell people how they can get a hold of you at the Texas Veterans
Yeah, just
Network.
go on our website, visit TexasVeteransNetwork.us, or you could also go on CombinedArms.us. You don't have to live here in Texas to get. We also have about 43 other national partners that we collaborate with. So you could either go on our website. We have an actual phone number that's listed on our website. You could call, speak to one of our intake team coordinators, and then they could connect you with those resources. Instead of you Googling or, hey, how do I get connected for this? We do that one single point of entry, and we'll do that. We'll do the rest for you.
Gus, it's a pleasure to finally sit down and talk with you.
Yeah.
I spoke with you a long time ago over at one of the fellowship events, and you know, and then COVID hit, and then we kind of went our different ways.
But yeah, now everything's back.
But,
you know, we got to get out there, get the word out there, because you know what? Even though the war is over, we still have people being deployed. I mean, so and you never know. Things might change. Yeah,
thank you for being part of the Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. And it sounds like that's exactly what you've done. Is found a new life mission with the Texas Veterans Network. Texas Veterans Network, powered by Combined Arms. So it's great to have you, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Rush.
Guys, as always say, have peace in line. You remember that the ocean refuses no river.